Greetings and salutations, my minions. Kunic here, back with yet another RPG horror story. Or shall I say two very spicy horror stories. Yeah, things are about to get a little wild. So wild, in fact, that I don't plan to spoil any more. So let's roll for initiative and jump right on into them. My players started dating each other and everything went to absolute crap. I DM for 5 people. 2 are in a male-female relationship, and then there's 3 other guys. So, basically what happened is the 2 in the relationship, let's say Mary and Joseph, they've been dating for 3 years, and they live together. But in the game, Mary's character, who is an elf, falls in love with another player's character, David, and those characters start a relationship. And in the game, they end up buying a house and they roleplay having intercourse with each other, and make Joseph, the real boyfriend, sit there and listen, and they get graphic, because they're both elves and want to keep the bloodline pure. They specifically talk about finishing inside so they can have babies, and all Joseph can do is sit there because he is a half-elf and, according to them, impure. Eventually, Mary and David, they start texting each other in character, calling each other husband and wife, but in whatever the heck elf language they know, and they start role-playing their married lives over the phone. And Mary tells Joseph, the real boyfriend, that he needs to sack up and be more like a pure elf and not a half-breed. So Joseph, who is understandably weirded out by all of this, asks me to kill either Mary's character or David's character. He thinks if their elf wedding is over, they'll stop sexting in real life, and I'm like, dude, no. I don't think you appreciate what's going on here. Killing their characters won't change a goddamn thing at this point. You need to talk to your girlfriend about what she's doing. Joseph does not take my advice. Instead, he comes up with his own plan. He independently paid the other 2 PCs, Zelda and Link, $500 in real-life money to kill David's elf character inside the game, and Zelda and Link agree. And Joseph insists that they kill both of them while they're having intercourse. He wants them to know why it's happening, and he says he has a plan to stand over their dying bodies, so the last thing they see is him taking it out of his pants. Whatever. So the next time we play, and I don't know any of this, by the way, they run around the city like always, shopping, going to the theater, etc. And eventually, Mary and David sneak off to the alleyway where he starts doing something that'd get me demonetized for saying, and she's urinating on his hand. And they're making rolls to see if it works. And they make me come up with the rolls for them, like dex saves and con saves, because they're screwing so hard, they want to make sure they don't hurt themselves. Then they roll a d4 to see how many babies she got knocked up with. And that's when Joseph springs his plan. Zelda and Link show up out of nowhere and start beating the 2 of them to death, buck naked, using bludgeoning damage. Their bones are broken. Mary's face gets bashed in. And this is when Joseph has a change of heart, and he can't go through with it. He tries to save Mary and David by praying to his god, he's a paladin by the way, and asks his god, me, to intervene and stop Zelda and Link from killing Mary and David. But by the time he's done praying, both Mary and David's characters are dead, and Joseph, who is afraid they might get resurrected, starts cutting the meat off their bones so he can bury their body in different, spread out places, and then he moves into their house. In real life, Joseph is still living with Mary, but Mary is still sending lewd pics to David, because they're ghosts now, and still in love. She is literally sending David real-life, demonetizable pictures of her, you know, with captions that say, "Give me your baby." And I only know this because David takes these pictures and sends them to us in a group chat that Joseph isn't included on. There's more. A lot more. But this is basically the theme of the problems. End story number 1. And I don't usually do this, but let's bring up some of the comments that went on in this thread. Holy crap! The duck did I just read? I agree. What did we just read? I don't know, but I was kind of expecting The Undertaker to throw Mankind off a Hell in a Cell at the end. And for those that don't know, there is a infamous shitposter on Reddit who ends almost all of the things he says on Reddit with, in 1998, Mankind was thrown off the Hell in a Cell by The Undertaker, or some variation thereof. Y'all need Jesus. Or Pelor. And then the real kicker to all of this. You do realize that as a DM, you can just tell them, no, your characters don't do that, right? And the OP replies, they pay me hourly to DM for them, so I'm kind of at their request to let them do what they want. And that is the first red flag in my opinion. I have not heard of one good case where a DM is paid to DM for a group and it's gone well. Usually if they can't find their own DM, there's probably some sort of an issue with the group at hand. But, you know, everyone has to make a living, so I'm not going to necessarily knock the DM for this. But they're paying the DM to DM for them. If they were smart, they would have vetted how the DM does their games. As a result, the DM could have definitely stepped in to stop this from happening. However, I don't think that would have fixed the issue. It might have slowed it down a little bit, but the crux of the issue here is a relationship issue where the girlfriend is emotionally and sexually cheating on her boyfriend. Maybe not physically, but, you know, they're almost there. And I 100% agree with what the OP initially said. Killing them will fix nothing, and as we see at the end of the story, it definitely didn't. So, in my honest opinion, this game needs to end, and Joseph and his girlfriend need to go to couple therapy. That is, if he even still wants to be with her. Considering they live together, I would almost bet that he does. And nothing really more needs to be said than that. So, let's move on to the next story. The day a Railroad DM told me how to play my own character. I played my last session with a veteran DM who likes to railroad his games a lot in a world created by himself. I don't like railroading at all, but he is a friend of mine and his party needed one more player after one of them left the game for unknown reasons. Bit of foreshadowing, but okay. So, I made a cat-like person, I don't remember the name of the race, and chose him to be a rogue. Since it was a neutral alignment party, I wanted to make him someone who had a rough life, living in the desert, since he was born with no parents to take care of him, surviving with his own wits and skill with a dagger, using his silver tongue to avoid getting in conflict and the dagger when necessary. Wow, such an original character, I know. And his own personality was about saving his own skin before others, stuffing his pockets with stuff he found and stabbing the neck of the enemy while they sleep rather than fighting them directly. With a clear idea of who my character was and what he does for a living, the DM told me the character is okay, and we start the session. My party and I find ourselves in an underground cell, imprisoned by a group of cultists that were searching for some kind of artifact in a system of mines built a long time ago, forcing us and other people to work for them until dying of starvation. So, this cultist group had knives designed, in the words of the DM, as crafted to cause the most abhorrent pain possible to the victim when stabbed with it. We later found out that this group liked to take women and violate them, aside from using their corpses for their rituals. He described this all in a very graphic way, even with other girls present in our game. Going forward with the game, my character used his charisma to attract a guard to the cell and pickpocketed the cell keys without him noticing. When this guard left, I used the keys to free my party companions and get us out of the cell. We then proceeded to go through the floors of the underground mines, trying to find an exit, while me, being a rogue and knowing what these cultists were doing with the innocent people, used my stealth with another party member to catch the guards that didn't notice us, and killed them without making a noise. He was visibly displeased with me, and I didn't know at that moment why, but I'll explain at the end of the story. The guards that noticed our presence fought us, laughing like crazy and immolating themselves when their HP dropped to 0, in a gory, brutal fashion. When we had to discuss the next plan of action after finding the next hook in the history, my character would propose some options, listening to his party companions, trying to show that he was open to cooperate with them. The game ended with the party surrounded by cultists in a dinner hall near the exit of the mines, ready to fight them. When the game ended, the DM talked to me in private, and he told me that he didn't like how I played my character. He told me that he didn't think that a rogue, being a rogue, would go through the mines stabbing every guard in the back without saying a word, like an assassin from Assassin's Creed. Even if every goddamn guard was a bloodthirsty cultist who likes to violate women, carrying a knife, in his words, designed to cause the most abhorrent pain possible to the victim. And that my character was a thief, and a Tomb Raider based on his background. He also told me in a subtle way that if I wanted to play in the next game with his party, I had to play my character the way he tells me. As soon as he told me that, I packed my stuff and told him that I wouldn't play another game with him and left. Never let a DM tell you how you have to play your own character. End story number 2. Yeah, that's about as cookie cutter of a railroad story as I've ever heard. But there are still lessons to be learned. The first point I'll bring up is the fact that a player left without a word and with apparently no reason given before the OP joined the game. That's not necessarily in and of itself a red flag, but it can be, and so it probably would have been a good idea to have spoken with the other players, just to see if they had an inkling of what led to that. And that's honestly about as much as OP could have done here. He left almost immediately after being told how his character should have been played, which in my opinion is the right call if you want to dodge a horror story. So nothing there. But as for the DM, bro, let your players play their characters however they want. If you are having any kind of an itch to play as a character, maybe put your campaign on hold and see if anyone else wants to DM, because telling someone else how to play their character is a huge no-no, and is really only going to cause your campaigns to lose players for quote-unquote unknown reasons. But yeah, that's it for today's stories. As always, the source of them is in the description below. And if you like the video and you want to see more videos just like this one, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification icon to be notified of the future videos. And don't forget, there's a comments section below if you want to discuss the stories. Anyhow, while you wait for those future videos, here are a few related videos that you can watch from my channel in the meantime.